In this video, we'll be doing an in-depth dive in the 2024 to 2025 winter season and why I think the Midwest could see some big winter storms this season. Let's go right on into today's video. So we're going to start out with our most important thing about this video. That is going to be talking about your ENSO probabilities. Currently, we are in a neutral phase that is in between a La Nina and an El Nino. We're eventually going to head into a weak La Nina as we go towards November, December, and especially into January, where the jet stream should begin to lift a little bit more north and provide more snowfall coverage for areas in the Midwest. So if we stay in this neutral phase, this is the type of winter we would most likely see. More cool in the Midwest and the northeastern side of the U.S., whilst it's more warm and wet in the southern and southwestern side of the United States. However, we're not going to stay in this neutral phase for too long as we'll be heading into a La Nina, which would look something more like this. Cooler, wetter in the north central and northwestern side of the United States, whilst warmer and drier in the southern tier of the U.S., as well as a little pocket of potentially higher precipitation over the Midwest. Now into all the graphics I have prepared for you guys. This is my outlook for November into December. Elevated chances for precipitation in the northwestern side of the U.S. as well as over the Great Lakes and the Northeast. Below average chance for precipitation out there in the southern side of the United States, especially as you go into New Mexico, Texas, and Arizona. Here's my temperature outlook for November into December. I have a cooler November and December happening up there in the north central side of the U.S., most specifically for the potential of Arctic blast as we go into December. Then in the southeastern side of the United States, I have it being warmer than normal and also could be accompanied by some severe weather potential. And then in the southwest side of the United States, I also have that potential for above average temperatures. Here's my precipitation outlook for January into February. I have an above average chance for precipitation in the Midwest into the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, then a secondary area for the potential of above average precipitation in the Pacific Northwest. Most of the southern, south central side of the United States should be relatively on the drier side of things for January into February. Here's my temperature outlook for January into February. You can see a much cooler than average potential up there in the north central side of the U.S. Once again for the potential of Arctic blast, especially in the months of January and February. That cooler than average does extend all the way into areas like the Northeast as well. Then there's a warmer than average out there in the south central side of the United States, where again I think severe weather is going to be a possibility. And then of course I have to continue with that area of below average temperatures in the southwestern side of the U.S. Before I go ahead and show you guys who has the best chance for snowfall in this upcoming winter season, make sure you guys have hit that like button, shared this video with your family, friends, and on social media to help us reach the YouTube algorithm. And also go ahead and hit that subscribe button with the notification bell set to all if you are new to the channel. Let's go ahead and continue on with today's video. So I've actually prepared two snowfall forecasts for you guys. This is the first one showing above average chances for snowfall in the Pacific Northwest, including areas like Washington State, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. And then of course that second area is way more widespread there in the Midwest. I almost introduced a third color out there in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan, where we're most likely going to have above average precipitation, below average temperatures, as well as multiple low pressures that bring the potential for a couple of snowstorms. I just didn't have enough confidence to introduce that third color, but if I did, that is where it would be. Most of the southern side of the United States in that orange area, that is where you have the potential for below average snowfall if you even ever see it. And then that yellow area is where I believe it's kind of a little bit more 50-50, but you're going to be really seeing an average winter season. And yeah, that is going to be it for my first snowfall forecast map. Let's go ahead and go on into the second one. So I've hopped on my recording software. The audio is probably going to sound a little bit better because of that. Just too much editing for me to be able to do this inside my software. So we're going to just do this from west to east. This is my more in-depth snowfall forecast. Hopefully it's not too confusing, but I did decide just to make two to make you guys just understand the potential for snowfall and overall winter season pattern that we're going to be dealing with. So in the Northwest, we have storms. Yeah, very, very in-depth right there, huh? Just a lot of rainfall up here, atmospheric rivers, and in the higher elevations, you're going to have a better chance for that snowfall, but relatively just going to be a rainy season up there. In that orange area, I have the chance for below average snowfall if you ever do see this. I say if you ever do because areas out here in Florida, you guys haven't seen snowfall in a very long time. That below average snowfall chance also extends into portions of the coastal Carolinas as well. We'll get into that red area in just a little bit longer, but first I'm going to go ahead and reveal that bluish color out there in the mountains. That's just going to be your normal mountain snowfall. Now I will want to note this. I do think that snowfall in the mountains is going to be a little bit less than what you normally see year to year, but you're still going to end up with that near average snowfall up in those mountain areas. Same goes for if you're in that below average snowfall chance up there in the mountains, you guys are still going to see snowfall. I just think it's going to be a lower chance for that. Up here in that darker blue area for the northwestern, north central side of the U.S., that's where we're looking at Arctic blast. Just the overall cooler weather up there in areas like North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, and Montana, or as well as Montana, but I meant to say Minnesota there. Just Arctic blast, very frequent cold weather. Then we go ahead and go on into out there in the central, the dead central side of the United States. That's your toss-up. It's probably going to be a near, if not below average snowfall for you guys, or you could end up with a near snowless year. It's just going to depend on how those Arctic blasts and how far southeast those Arctic blasts do end up getting out there for areas like Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri. You guys are going to be in more of that toss-up area. Now, if we go ahead and reveal in the northeast, that's where we're looking at, well, what we normally see at least once a year. Some nor'easters up there in the northeast. Now, I do want to remove this for just a second because I want you guys to see that purple color. This is where I do think we're going to have that toss-up as well. We're going to have some warmer temperatures along the coastal areas, especially out here in like Delaware and New Jersey, Rhode Island, Boston, Massachusetts, far southeastern Maine. You guys are going to have that better opportunity of seeing a lower end snowfall season just simply because you're on the coastal areas, as well as we already talked about that with the El Nino and the La Nina. I'll dive more into that in just a second after I go ahead and reveal this last area of snowland. It's just going to be a lot of snow. Now, there is a potential for some mixed precipitation there, especially if we don't get the good timing with that Arctic blast potential and cooler temperatures, but it's really just going to be snowland out there. So areas out in Illinois, central northern Illinois, central northern Indiana, good chunk, almost all of Ohio, I think is going to see a lot of snowfall. That's just going to be because of the pattern we are going into. I also want to note, just before we dive on into more in depth of that La Nina and El Nino, this area here, we also could see some severe weather potential. I don't know exactly how large scale of that severe weather potential will be present, but generally out here in Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, you guys are going to have the potential for severe weather as well as we go into December, right around that time frame or so. So severe weather is going to be a possibility up there, and not only kind of the central, north central side of the U.S., but also down further to the south as well. Those are going to be two areas where I think severe weather is going to be a better opportunity, better chance for you guys. So just keep an eye out on severe weather potential, because it should be a possibility not only up here, but also out there in Dixie Alley. And I do think we have a chance for an average to above average second severe weather season, really starting up in October and then lasting all the way through January. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove all of these so that way I can put you through the kind of thinking of what I did when going into this forecast here. So for a La Nina, we typically have a more northern jet stream. I haven't really memorized it, but a La Nina is typically a jet stream more like this. So it brings cooler weather for the northern side of the United States. We normally have a blocking high pressure off the Pacific Northwest, which allows for more wintry messes and precipitation up here. Cooler weather up in this area during a La Nina, where we see some indents in the jet stream that look more like this and bring severe weather potential to areas in the deep south. And those could also bring, if we have temperatures in that area, some lower temperatures in that area, you could see severe weather in Dixie Alley, whilst you're also seeing snowfall up here towards the mid-Atlantic. So I think we're going to have kind of a mixture between those two. So that's what I went through in the thinking of this winter forecast. Of course, a La Nina brings extra rainfall to this area, your Arctic blast from cooler temperatures from your La Nina, and then that potential for a more southern jet stream. It just overall, it should favor a lot more snow in this whole area here. But that toss-up area, that's just going to come down to your exact jet stream, which is just a question mark at the moment. So I hope you guys enjoyed that winter forecast, and that is going to be it for this video. You can look through all the forecasts that I did here, the temperatures, the precipitation, and both the snowfall forecast, to just give your yourself an overall thinking of what might happen in this 2024 to 2025 winter season. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully this was about a 10-minute video, and have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you've subscribed to the channel, like the video, share it, as this did take a lot of work, and I will see you guys in the next one. Stay safe, watch severe weather in the tropics, and have a great winter. Goodbye.